Hey everybody, it's Eric from EPAutos.com, your libertarian car guy. Subject of today's rant is something that I caught on the news feed about Trump promising that if he manages to be elected, he's going to cut car insurance premiums by 50%. And a couple of interesting things about that. The first is the outpouring of outrage from the insurance mafia about that, and from leftists who support the insurance mafia, who say, but he can't do that. Insurance is regulated by the states. And what's interesting to me about that is that when it's convenient for the left, that is for communists, I like to use honest language. I'm tired of calling these people Democrats or liberals, or for that matter, even leftists. When it suits their purpose, they're quite happy to use the power that they have. You know, the executive ordering, for example, or the regulatory apparatus. They just do it. And then at the same time, they have the effrontery and the gall to turn around and complain when it is done unto them. So certainly Trump, if he chose to do so, could issue some sort of an order, an executive order, what have you, restricting what these mafiosi can charge people. So there's that. But the underlying element, I think, is the more important one, which is that of compulsion. The reason that insurance costs are so high is obvious, because they can force you to pay for it. Imagine what it would cost you to get a burger at a fast food place if the government said you had to buy one. You'd be paying $30 for a cheeseburger at McDonald's. Probably wouldn't even have any meat or cheese in it. It'd be a soy burger. So really, fundamentally, that's the problem. If you take away the ability of the insurance mafia, and I use that term not as a pejorative, but as a descriptive, because they are a mafia. They use strong-arm tactics. They don't simply offer their services, their insurance, their wares, to those who are willing to buy them. They use the government to force people to pay them for insurance. And specifically, they force us to pay for harms and damages we haven't caused. Think about this. You're paying every year to be covered, and yet if you cause no damage, you cause no harm, and that might go on for decades. You've harmed nobody, you've caused no damage to anybody. You don't get a refund, do you? But you're out of pocket probably tens of thousands of dollars over, say, a 30-year period for all of this coverage. It's a pretty poor deal. It would be a reasonable deal, perhaps, if you had the ability to say no to it. A really good example of this. One of the techniques that the insurance mafia uses to jack up its premiums is if you get a ticket. Now, think about the difference between a ticket and a claim, okay? Ticket is simply a piece of paper they hand you because you violated some traffic statute. You didn't wear a seatbelt, you made a right turn on red, you made a U-turn, whatever it may be. Something that entails no harm or damage done to anybody. You just violated a statute. And for the most part, violating these statutes is just that. It doesn't even entail any real risk to anybody. It's just an assertion that it's not safe, by which they mean it's illegal. Anyhow, they will present you with this as the basis for increasing your premium by whatever the amount is. And because they can force you to pay, because if you don't pay, then all of a sudden you're going to have to deal with the government, right? You can't say no. Now, if we had the ability to choose, if there were no compulsion involved, when they sent you that adjustment in the mail, you could call them up and say, look, this isn't reasonable. I've not filed a claim. No one's filed a claim against me. I've not caused any harm or damage. You've got no legitimate reason to jack up my rates. So here's the deal. You'll either return the rate to what it was, or you'll cancel my policy. That's how we control the costs of insurance. Really, really simple. It wouldn't be possible for these insurance mafiosi to shift costs onto people either. You know, like for example, you drive an older vehicle, you have a liability-only policy, so even your potential costs are very, very low relative to, say, somebody who chooses to go out and buy a $90,000 electric car or even a $50,000 SUV. Who do you think is paying for the cost of that when that $90,000 or $50,000 vehicle is totaled in an accident? If you think it's the person who bought it, you're wrong. Yeah, they're paying some of it in terms of the higher coverage that they pay, but these costs are shifted onto the people who chose not to buy a very expensive vehicle and who are living within their means, and yet they're compelled to pay because, once again, there's that element of compulsion. So, again, to recapitulate, I'd rather simply that the mandate to buy insurance be rescinded. If that were to happen, we wouldn't have to worry about the cost of insurance. And by the way, you know, there's the old ridiculous retort, oh, if the government didn't mandate it, then there would be uninsured drivers and all society would pay. Well, let me clue you into something. If you're one of the people who actually really believes that, which is an idiotic thing to believe, there are uninsured drivers out there, plenty of them. A lot of them are illegal aliens. Me gusta, si puede. Just like laws preventing or prohibiting people from possessing guns in places like Chicago and D.C. sure as hell haven't prevented people from getting guns and using them criminally, have they? So it's just a fatuous argument. And the way to deal with that argument is also very simple. Let's say somebody does cause damage or harm and they don't have insurance. Well, you make them pay. You know, and whether, okay, they don't have any money, well, put them on a freaking chain gang if that's what it takes. Indenture them, garnish them, and if failing that, put them in jail, which is reasonable because, you know, if they're not willing to work to pay off a debt, they've defrauded you. I don't see anything wrong with that. It's not mean to hold people responsible for what they've done. What's wrong, on the other hand, is to hold people who didn't do anything responsible for what others did or for what you worry they might do. Anyway, there's an article up at EP Autos about this. I'll also have a review of the Cadillac CT5, which is one of the last rear-drive non-hybrid sedans that you can still get in what's left of the car market. Anyway, thanks as always for viewing. We'll have more for you soon.